So we've started 10 companies so far, and we're trying to deal with what we call the edge of chaos. I have a feeling that if historians in a few decades look at our times, in some way they're going to remember the tale of two cities, right? We're living in the best of times, we're living in the worst of times. And it really depends on your perspective, right? If you go with Stephen Perkins, then everything is getting better. Look at the stats, right? Poverty is going down, mortality is going down, homicide is in a plummet, literacy is rising all the time. These are really the best of times. Even Moore's law. Remember, they told us about 20 years ago that we've reached the edge of Moore's law, but somehow we are able to keep on pushing it further and further ahead. And then, the promise of artificial intelligence that's going to fix everything. Or you can look at it from the other perspective, of course, right? This is the wonderful Greta's perspective, right? We're doomed. We've taken this world and we've ruined it for our kids. My daughter concurs. I'm not in a position to really make a choice between what's the right perspective. They're probably both right. I think we could agree that in some way, what depicts our times is that this is the age of complexity. Everything is really, really complex. I was speaking in a company that I won't name yesterday or the day before, and I asked them, how old is this company? And the answer was, Yuval, 175. And so the question was, who's here from 175 years ago to tell us how this IT system has been built? Right? Somebody raised their hand. Nick can tell you about it later. And so, our networks are becoming so interconnected. It's a network of networks of networks. Our customers are a part of our networks. Their customer are a part of their networks. The supply chain, third party. It's not IT anymore. It's IT with OT, with biotech. Very, very complex. And then you sprinkle some machine learning and AI in all of this, and you create not only unpredictable models, but unexplainable models. And then the Stephen Hawkings of the world and the Bill Gates of the world and the Elon Musk of the world telling us, wait, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait till we get to the AGI, artificial general intelligence. Then you'll see how the computers or the machines are going to treat us. And if you want to get a glimpse, go look at the gorillas in the mountains and see how we treated them. So that's the age of complexity, and that's what we've got to we've got to embrace. In order to thrive in the age of complexity, Darwin taught us that it's not the strongest or the fittest, it's the one that adapts better than the others. And complex adaptive systems require a new way of thinking about leadership, management, organization, and enterprise. And it's scary because it's decentralized. There's a lot of uncertainty around it, and it's unpredictable. And for all the leaders in the room, and it doesn't matter if you're a CIO or a CDO or a CEO or a CISO, that's a scary phenomena to live in. If you're a CISO, and I won't have a call of hands for the CISOs in the room to concur or not, but a really good day in the office is that a day that nothing happens. And those don't happen very frequently, right? So these complex adaptive systems are really great at this Goldilocks environment, which I like to call the edge of chaos. And at the edge of chaos, there is this really subtle, elusive place where if you have just enough structure, but you're able to deploy just enough chaos and live within this Goldilocks environment, really good things happen. And so in some way, the way to win in the age of complexity is not to try to optimize for order and not to be afraid of chaos, but to find this balance, to find this really, really special place, which we call the edge of chaos, where really beautiful things happen. It's that place where we can actually innovate, but get utility. It's this place where we can accelerate with a lot of speed, but maintain some kind of stability. And in a way, in this learning competition at the age of complexity, those that will thrive are the ones that are going to be able to maintain that very fragile, lucid, elusive place at the edge of complexity. So now I'd love to give you guidelines for how to stay at the edge of complexity, but I can't. Because you all got to figure that out yourself, because different industries at different points in time, from different perspectives, from different places they sit, need to figure this out themselves. One thing I can tell you is that you should not optimize for order. I know it's hard, and I know it's difficult, and I know it's scary, and I know that order has some kind of comforting allure to it for that we seek all the time, and sometimes we call the divine, and sometimes we call the philosophers, and sometimes we call on the technologists, and sometimes we call on the psychologists or the psychiatrists, whatever your poison is. But what I'm trying to tell you is that order will kill you just as fast as chaos at the age of complexity. And in Team8, that has been our philosophy from day one. We're about bringing different perspectives, different ideas from different geographies, from different industries. We're about accepting the fact that failure is an option. And the companies that we've built so far, and as Yuval said, we're now working on number 10, depict this kind of idea that it's not either or, it's and, right? So if you think about our endpoints, and Tal Zamir on the video was talking about this, how can you create an operating system that is infected but not infected at the same time? Right? And that's what Isolate does. If you think about data and collaboration around data, how can you create an environment where you can collaborate not with zero trust but beyond trust? How can you create a situation where data is encrypted but not encrypted at the same time? And if you want an explanation, talk to Professor Shafi Goldwasser, who is the founder of Duality, because I can't explain it. But it's possible. And you know, with Signia, which is our consulting firm that does incident response, we find ourselves at the front line of really big chaos all the time. Sophisticated attacks that when you handhold the leadership of organizations that really see how everything is going to fall and crumble and completely be obliterated because of a cyber attack, then you see chaos in front of your eyes. The good news is that although we live in the age of complexity, although it's hard to predict the future, there are methodologies, there are capabilities that allow organizations to create resilience in the age of complexity. In Signia, we call this Massive Attack Scenario Simulation Programs. It doesn't mean that we're going to know exactly what will happen, but it does mean that we can exercise and become more resilient. So when it does happen, we understand what our core values are, what's really important, and how do we withstand these attacks without taking it too big of a hit, and that's what we do with Signia. And that's pretty much what we do in Team8. We bring together leading technologists and academic experts and investors and enterprise that is moving fast at this age of complexity. And we put them together without really understanding what's the outcome going to be. But we do believe in CAS. We do believe in complex adaptive systems. If you put the right people in the right scenario, with the right culture, with the right objective in the room, and you let them play, you don't really know what's going to come out, but great things do emerge if that happens. In fact, we come from Israel and we invented this. We call it balagan, which is pretty much what we do at the edge of chaos. And we're very comfortable with it, and I think that's one of our advantages. And so here's what we're going to be doing today with our program. We're going to start with Justin Behrman. He's the head of security at Dropbox. And he will share his take on why security teams need to actually accelerate the velocity of their businesses, which is a little bit counterintuitive. And then we have Plamen Petrov from Anthem, and he's going to talk about digital-first healthcare opportunities, and he's going to be introduced by my good friend Amit Harel from Deloitte Israel. After that, we're going to have Adam Lee and Tucker Bailey talking about the balance between protection and compliance. And then we're going to have Beth from IBM Watson, and she's going to talk to us about the adoption of AI and AGI and all these beautiful things and what's happening and what's not happening. And then we're going to have our own Asaf Egozi from Nugada. And finally, to sum up everything, we're going to have our own Admiral Mike Rogers, who's going to tell you that if you think this is only about enterprise and business, and if you think military leaders know it all, well, they don't. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and have a great night.